Islamist party. That's what it is. We don't have to guess anymore. It's not democratic socialist, whatever that means. How can you be democratic and socialist when socialism is about the government controlling the means of production? We got to cut through their new definitions and new words and cut to the chase. So the party is now officially communist. It's officially Islamist. It's officially un-American, is what it is. Now let's take a look at this so-called Democratic Socialists of America, shall we? Take a look at these charts. It comes right off their website, which is not unlike the website of the Communist Party USA, if you want to compare the two, and we will in a moment. Free Palestine. What does that mean? Well, they don't know what it means. It doesn't matter. No more economic warfare. Wow. End the U.S. war machine. Sound like communists, don't they? Freedom of movement. Somebody having a bowel problem? Is there a freedom of movement problem? I don't think so. Medicare for all. Do you know Medicare is supported in part by private insurance that you pay? So if they nationalize Medicare, Medicare will cost you a ton more. You'll get less services. They'll turn it into Obamacare. But they don't care. It sounds good. Fight mass incarceration and police brutality. That's right. They want their own police state. So they want to blow out our cops, open the gates, let the felons out, get new voters, and then create their own police state. End the war on drugs. College for all. Support working families. A 32-hour work week. Well, that's pretty much what most of them work anyway, isn't it? 32 hours, maybe 15 hours. Tax the rich. Union power. And, of course, the Green New Deal. Wow, what an agenda.
The sleeping duck. Indestruct bed. With 50 kilos of...
Nothing there about creating jobs and prosperity and wealth creation. Nothing there about strengthening the civil society, the family, and faith. No. Let's read a little bit from their website, shall we? I think we shall. The U.S. political and economic system is failing the working class. Millions struggle with low wages, dangerous working conditions, and limited control over our own lives, all while the top 1% has gotten richer and richer. Billionaires control access to basic human needs like housing, healthcare, and education. Education and the media profit off of them. This capitalist economic system is the cause of violence, unemployment, and a climate crisis that poses an existential threat to life on Earth. Now, they do all these things as they take advantage of capitalism with their iPhones and their automobiles, as they go to the grocery store and they buy some extra wine and beer, things of that sort. So they're living off the capitalist system while preaching communism. Black and brown workers in racially segregated communities bear the brunt of capitalism's cruelties, suffering especially from poverty wages, discrimination, deportation, and unemployment, often pushing workers into illegal activity to survive. Instead of investing in working-class communities, capitalists prefer to police and incarcerate workers they consider expendable to protect their wealth. Who do they think built all these homes? Who do they think created the sewage system? Hot and cold running water, electricity, and all the rest. Well, that's beside the point, isn't it? Accelerating declines in living standards are exploited by the Christian nationalist right and figures like Donald Trump. Americans rejected the far-right agenda in the 2020 elections and watched a failed coup attempt to overturn the election results. That far-right agenda, yeah, we call it freedom. Freedom. You notice in none of their propaganda is there freedom, individual freedom, free will, liberty, none of it. The far right threatens American civil liberties. They attack the right of people to decide whether to have a kid by overturning Roe v. Wade and continue to restrict abortion and on and on. These attacks are all the more disturbing because we're missing a real and powerful opposition to it in the U.S. The center-right Democratic Party is controlled by its elite donor class and cannot act as an effective political counter to the nationalist far right. Only a party that fights for working people can win the battle against fascism. So you have the communists that have taken over the Democrat Party, and you have the weak leaders of the Democrat Party who are acquiescing to this. They'll throw them out. It's just a matter of time. Our goal is to put workers in charge of the government through a new democratic constitution. They want to destroy our constitution. That establishes civil, political, and democratic rights for all, is based on proportional representation in a single federal legislature, and ends the role of money in politics. Yeah, a big communist Politburo. When a government by, for, and of the working class, and with powerful labor unions and social movements organizing in every city and town, we hope to build a socialist society where people come before profit, basic needs are guaranteed, the large corporations are put under public ownership, and the democratic control, peace around the world is secured, and workers around the world join together in common struggle to construct socialism worldwide. This is plagiarized stuff off of old communist propaganda. There's nothing new about it. Here's the Communist Party USA. Similar program as the Democratic Socialists. Off their website, humanity is faced with multiple interlocking crises of capitalism, in which a shrinking capitalist class hoards the wealth that was produced by the vast working class in an inhumane and oppressive system of greed and exploitation. In the present, we struggle to improve the lives of the whole of the working class, including the impoverishment in our country and around the globe. To solve the challenges facing humanity, we need to replace capitalism with socialism, a system of cooperation, democracy, and equality. They go on. The U.S. is in the midst of a deep systemic crisis, perhaps the most severe since the Civil War and the Great Depression. It is a political, economic, social, cultural, and ideological crisis of the capitalist system. And they blubber on, just like the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. It would be a mistake to confine the problem to Trump, Elon Musk, a few Proud Boys, or even the insurgents who stormed the Capitol on that fateful day in January. Rather, the threat stems from a mass neo-fascist movement organized by the most reactionary sections of the billionaire class. It's been nurtured over decades, first in the evangelical right's moral majority, then in the Tea Party movement, and now in the MAGA movement. Capitalism is a cause of many of the problems we face, and is also the main obstacle to finding real and lasting solutions. We need a system that prioritizes the needs of the people before the greed of the few, the 1%. Don't they sound the same? Don't they sound exactly the same? Well, let's go even deeper. You ready? You ready? Let's go into the Stalin Constitution of 1936, because he offers such beautiful things. Now, he slaughtered tens of millions of people. He starved to death tens of millions of people. He enslaved the people in Eastern Europe for decades until Ronald Reagan came along and liberated 300 million of them. Yes, yes, yes. But this is the workers' paradise that they want to create in the United States of America. Here we have Chapter 10 of the Stalin Constitution that we've discussed before. Article 118, citizens of the USSR have the right to work. That is, are guaranteed the right to employment and payment for the work in accordance with its quantity and quality. Don't they all sound alike? And they are brutal, repressive bastards. That's what they are. They will lock you up. They will shut you down. They are violent. A whole history of this communism. They go on. Stalin's Constitution, 1936, Article 119. The right to rest and leisure is ensured by the reduction of the working day to 7 hours for the overwhelming majority of the workers, the institution of annual vacation with full pay for workers and employees, and the provision of a wide network of sanatoria, rest homes, and clubs for the accommodation of the working people. Wow. Article 120, citizens of the USSR have the right to maintenance in old age, and also in the case of sickness or loss of capacity to work. The right is ensured by the extensive development of social insurance of workers and employees at state expense, free medical service for the working people, Medicare for all, and the provision of a wide network of health resorts for the use of the working people. Oh, it's so beautiful. Except those mass graves and mass executions kind of put an end to most of this. Article 121, citizens of the USSR have the right to education. The right is ensured by universal, compulsory elementary education, by education including higher education, being free of charge, just like the DSA, by the system of state stipends for the overwhelming majority of students in the universities and colleges. Article 122, Women in the USSR are accorded equal rights with men in all spheres of economic, state, cultural, social, and political life. All equal, all enslaved, all starving.
Ugh, the scales won't budge. Good thing she's with Juniper.
Before we spiral, it's working exactly as it's supposed to. If the program was dramatic every week,
It'd be maths.
but we don't do that here at Juniper.
No eliminations, no rose ceremonies.
Just bucket loads of support.
Okay, sure. Thanks, guys.
Don't go it alone. Join over 300,000 women on a weight loss journey with Juniper.
Maybe like go to that restaurant. It's gonna be you and me. We're gonna just chill out this whole time.
The possibility of exercising these rights is ensured to women by granting them an equal right with men to work, payment for work, rest and leisure, social insurance, and education. It's just fantastic. Article 123, equality of rights of citizens of the USSR, irrespective of nationality or race, unless, of course, you're Ukrainian. Of course, they killed 8 million of them through starvation. But look, I don't want to spoil everything. Any direct or indirect restriction of the rights of, or conversely, any establishment of direct or indirect privileges for citizens on account of their race or nationality, as well as any advocacy of racial or national exclusiveness or hatred and contempt, is punishable by law. Except, of course, the Jews were round up, but again, that's a whole other story. Article 124, in order to ensure to citizens freedom of conscience, the church in the USSR is separated from the state, and the school from the church. Freedom of religious worship and freedom of anti-religious propaganda is recognized for all citizens. And then 125, in conformity with the interests of the working people, always the working people, and in order to strengthen the socialist system, the citizens of the USSR are guaranteed by law freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, including the holding of mass meetings. Isn't this fantastic? Freedom of the street processions and demonstrating. These civil rights are ensured by placing at the disposal of the working people and their organizations printing presses, stocks of paper, public buildings, the streets, communications, facilities, and other material requisites for the exercise of these rights.
Commander, welcome back. The station has been waiting. Let me show you around. This is the mech bay. Our armored units, silent but ready for war. Here, the War Council Chamber, where strategy and decisions are made. This is the training garden, balance, discipline. Over here, the food sector for a quick recovery. And this, the recovery hall, healing, rest, and peace between battles. Finally, the command center. It's time. Step forward and take the lead.
Introducing the all-new, all-electric GAC Ion V, bringing confidence to electric. Quality you can feel. That's beautiful technology.
Article 127. Citizens of the USSR are guaranteed inviolability of the person. No person may be placed under arrest except by decision of a court or sanction of the procurator. Wow. What happened to those gulags? Siberia. That was kind of the favorite place to send all the prisoners. And then Article 128, the inviolability of the homes of citizens and privacy of correspondence are protected by law. These are all lies. The Democratic Socialists of America, lies. The Communist Party of America, lies. Stalin, lies. Marx and Engels, lies. The inhumanity of what these people did. Let's be clear about a few things. Number one, there is no oppressed versus oppressor in the United States. There's voting, there's debating, there's free speech, there's economic mobility. There is no oppressor oppressed. Number two, capitalism has lifted billions of people out of poverty. Billions of people out of poverty, not communism. They put billions and billions of people into poverty. Number three, capitalism is inherently exclusive because it relies on voluntary exchanges, cooperation, serving diverse customer needs. By allowing anyone to participate as a consumer, a worker, an entrepreneur, it aims to reward merit and innovation rather than status. Number four, the so-called proletariat is in America the vast patriotic middle class, fiercely patriotic, and is the soul of the country, which is why you don't have revolutions in America from the bottom up trying to overthrow the country. You have blue-collar workers who fight that. Number five, communism has failed every single place it has been tried. Immense human cost. Six, Marxism is a so-called meta-narrative. That is, it is a defective ideology that tries to explain all history, human activity, and future outcomes from grandiose schemes and declarations. It rejects human nature, it rejects human experience, it rejects the human character, and it attempts to impose a defective ideology on the masses, which requires a strong police state, extensive police state, monitoring, the elimination of civil liberties in pursuit of the so-called workers' paradise. We are living in the workers' paradise. It's called the United States of America. Have you noticed America? They focus on Elon Musk and they talk about trillionaire. They really want people angry at a trillionaire and billionaires. We got to create anger and jealousy and anxiety because we know from rules from radicals and Saul Alinsky, you got to target your enemy, exploit them, and character assassinate them. And that's what they do. And example number one is Elon Musk. I don't know Elon Musk. I met him once at a football game, and I think we said hello, maybe not. It doesn't matter. He's an example of what they're doing. Elon Musk's companies, including Tesla, SpaceX, XI, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, rely on a vast supply chain of thousands of businesses ranging from localized machine shops to massive multinational conglomerates. The exact number fluctuates constantly, but data shows the following. SpaceX works with more than 3,000 suppliers for specialized parts and raw materials, despite producing about 85% of its components in-house. Tesla relies on roughly 300 to 600 Tier 1 suppliers globally to source over 2,000 distinct purchases and parts for their vehicles. How many people do Elon Musk's company employ? About 175,000. How many people do these businesses downstream employ? How many subcontractors and other businesses do they rely on? It's incalculable. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. That means hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people getting good pay, paying taxes, getting pensions, getting medical care, buying homes, buying automobiles, taking care of their families. In fact, so many downstream businesses and services are created or involved, the actual number is unknowable. How many entrepreneurs and other businesses will Musk's company give birth to? It's unknowable. This is how commerce, growth, wealth creation, prosperity works. This is how you have a strong middle class, working people with salaries and economic security. And what does Musk do with his hundreds of billions of dollars? He invests it, reinvests it to improve and grow his companies, to create new companies and new technologies. Let's say he puts it all in a savings account, which obviously he wouldn't. What happens then? Well, then banks, they have the money. They loan the money to consumers like you, who in turn buy things like homes and cars and trucks or businesses to expand and invest in R&D. Money is not stagnant except when the government controls it, because the government uses money to subsidize more government, to redistribute wealth, to hire more bureaucrats. It's the worst use of money for the middle class and workers imaginable. And those decisions about government and government money are made by politicians like Mondami, like Sanders, like AOC, who don't know a damn thing about creating a job. Elon Musk has $1 trillion. How does that negatively adverse anybody? It doesn't. How does that negatively affect you? It doesn't. How does that limit your ability to become whatever you want to become? It doesn't. Does that increase your taxes? No. Does it have a direct negative impact on you in any way? None. The Democrat Party is a degrowth, anti-American, pro-economic socialist, and communist party.